In this standing session, we're going to work down through the head and the neck and start to integrate some of the gaits. So let's first just settle in, getting our root and the leg alignments in place so that we have a stable, grounded base of support for the dissolving process. So unlocking the hips and the knees and the ankles and just settling into position, balancing yourself through the feet left and right, front and back. Eventually, as you get all the leg alignments to settle in together and connect through the feet, you even want a feeling of the pelvis itself sinking down through the feet without collapsing through the knees, the ankles. Let's take a second and see if you can find that connection. So it's a sort of feel and sink combination to settle in. And feel everything inside the bowl of the pelvis begin to relax a little bit. So through the belly, the hips, the joints of the pelvis, the sense of the internal organs calming, settling down, and relaxing. And maybe even a feeling of the lower dantian, which we'll come back to later in the series to really find and develop. But for now, it's just a basic sense of settling. And then lightly with your mind, as if it were a light touch running up your spine, just starting at the base of the spine. It's a really easy lengthening feeling, checking in and lengthening as you come up the back, through the lower spine, through the rib cage, between the shoulder blades, the base of the neck, all the way up through the neck, until just very lightly feel that rise at the crown of the head. And letting the tongue lightly touch the roof of the mouth to complete that connection. And settle your mind at the crown of the head. As you revisit the earlier gates, you're looking to reconnect with the energetic pattern of the gates being open and dissolved and connected. And you'll find that as they become more familiar, it gets easier to do it. So you won't have to kind of redo all the work every time of connecting to each gate. You're just sort of checking in and bringing them online. Like a series of lights in a power grid just flipping on to get you more connected. Now coming down through the temples and the third eye. And then down to the eyes. Feeling the eyeballs themselves and the space behind the eyes if you can. And also through the centers of the ears. Getting comfortable having your awareness be on the left side and the right side simultaneously. As you feel the different parts, different sides of the body. And as you're feeling into the ears, stabilizing the left side and the right side, feel the face, the jaw, the gates of the jaw at the hinges and at the bottom, about the width of your mouth. And then just check in where the tongue touches the roof of the mouth. And as you're working these gates, revisiting them, it really has to be a feeling of naturally letting them open. So as you touch them with your mind in the sort of lightest possible way. It's not, you want to be careful that you don't have a feeling of like cranking into them, digging into them, grinding into it. Nothing that brings contraction or tension. But it's sort of just this lightest alighting landing with the mind in the softest possible way so that naturally they can unfurl and open up and release a little bit, especially with the ones you've already done. So as you come to the base of the skull and we're going to go through the neck, there's going to be a tendency to want to dig really deep into it and feel really deep into the neck and get into all the stuff that binds and holds and whatever, but as best you can, just see if you can rest your mind in these areas on these heights and see what that feels like. To just let them go. So at the base of the neck, base of the skull, sort of cradled there, resting on the neck. Start to feel your way down. Section by section through the vertebrae of the neck. Think of it in thirds. It's the easiest way to start to get connected to it. So the top third, what do you start to discern? Can you start to feel the different spaces and sections? But again, here we're just letting areas wake up. So just like sometimes it takes you a little while to wake up in the morning, use your mind to let the body wake up little by little through the stuff we've already worked on. Feeling down now to the middle of the neck. Letting your mind settle in. Feeling and releasing space. Again, left and right, front and back. And then down to the base of the neck, the bottom third. It's the same idea. Inventory, checking in, just feeling through the different sections of the body, enlivening them with a quality of mind that allows you to connect to it, connect to the physical tissue, connect to the energy of that area of the body, and just let things naturally open and release however they want to. Releasing all the way down to the base of the neck, C7. Now let's slowly shift awareness from the neck to a channel that runs basically from the place that the tongue touches the roof of the mouth all the way down to your solar plexus, through the breastbone, through the ribs. And we're going to feel for it about the width of the mouth. So if you drop lines from the corners of your mouth down, it'll encompass the joints of the sternum, the chest, where the ribs come into the breastbone, all the way to the very end of the breastbone. But it's going to be everything from there. So find the gate again at the roof of the mouth. And this extends from the roof, the throat notch, the neck, the throat, down the chest. And it's the front of the body that we're talking about, that front surface. So just settle in without that being too much information. Just try to feel into that whole area, the whole front of the body for that section. Let's just take a minute and land on it. Just feeling through the neck, through the throat. The throat notch gives you a good anchor, stability point to feel this connection. But then also start to feel through the chest. This will go through the area of the heart to some degree. Might wake up some of that energy, but we still want to stay when we come down through the chest pretty much on the surface of the body. And as you feel through the chest piece by piece, do your best to maintain some awareness of this whole channel, from the corners of the mouth and the roof of the mouth down through the base of the breastbone, the bottom of the chest. We'll deal with the ribs, the space between the ribs, the way they connect into the spine. That's going to be a different focus. This is a channel down the front of the body at that width, at a pretty superficial depth. Again, you're navigating that distinction between feeling and connecting versus totally letting go, letting things open up on their own. And you may find that you flip back and forth, falling to one side or the other, where you try to do a little too much as you try to feel, or you disconnect a little bit as you try to let go and let things unfold. And that's fine. You're going to tighten up that balance and find a balance point, an integration point, where you'll have both over time as you practice this method. So feeling without really forcing, and letting go without really leaving the area. So now we're going to slowly transition. Make sure we reintegrate the body and sink the chi down the rest of the way through all the tissues. So feel into your shoulders. Broaden your awareness. Fill it up. Connect through the shoulders. Feel the weight of the shoulders, the heaviness of that tissue now. The mind saturating and soaking in. And start to come down through the rest of the rib cage, through the shoulder blade area, the collarbone, the armpits, the upper arms. All right, reconnect to the heaviness of the body. And there's still loosening and releasing because you're letting something drop through you, and it's all the way through the body. But the primary thing, it's almost like your clothes are completely soaked through, right? You let this heaviness get into your skin, get into the tissues, the muscles. It's increasing the blood flow to these areas and just washing right through like water soaking into a sponge. Down all the way through the rib cage, through the diaphragm, through the elbows, everything you can feel in the body. Down through the organs, down through the lower back, the belly. And if you lose the sense of complete flow, that's fine. You'll build that over time. Anytime you feel like a disconnect or a jump, just take whatever height you're at. Let the mind soak inward. Be really present at that height, and the flow will naturally catch up. There's a pooling action of the mind to be able to stabilize it at each height and hold it there. Be present and connected to it as you sink inward and downward, getting this grounded feel that runs all the way through you. From the belly, from the organs, down into the joints of the hips and the pelvis, all the way through the pelvis. And through your forearms, your wrists, your hands. Really let the hands come alive with your feeling awareness. That's always, or for most of us, most of the time, the hands are so sensitive that can be our feeling template for connecting to the rest of the body. So feel through the hands, and then try to feel through the thighs with the same kind of sensitivity, awareness, and connection that you have for the hands. Feel down through the middles of the thighs towards the knees. Through the knees as best you can. Try not to get jammed in the knees. And coming through the kneecaps, the back of the knees, starting to feel into the lower legs. Letting that heaviness and that sink, even as you're dropping down to the floor, still feels like it pulls through you and moves through you like a heaviness just dropping down. Through the shins and the calves. And down into your ankles. And down through the feet. Really letting everything catch up. You've been dropping through, kind of clearing out through your system. Coming down through the ankles and feet. And if you feel the tops of the feet or the soles of the feet, just start to be aware of the way the feet are connected to the floor. And one of the nicest takeaways, I know this is hard sometimes, and as we stand longer, it can be a challenge as you build your stamina, but one of the nicest takeaways you can get is, depending on where you're practicing and what the ground feels like, is a really soft, kind of permeable connection between your feet and your floor. That's when the energy of your body really starts to penetrate and reintegrate with the earth energy. You want a smooth, permeable kind of boundary there below you, so that as you walk around and move around, it's not always just this like hard conflict of gravity and physics and impact with your body, but you've got a sense over time of something going on below you, and that can be a very nice sensation. So finishing up just with that sense of ease and let go at the barrier between the soles of your feet and whatever you're standing on. Yeah, good job.